Hello, live by design, not by default. Welcome to Inspirational Moments. Once again with me, Billy. This is, I think, our seventh straight week live stream in this series. Before we start, I would like you to take a moment and think about this. Are there people whom you know who should be here with us today, but for some reasons they are not? Let me know by perhaps indicating a yes to begin with. Hi, good evening,
There's
Mary.
no alarm
I've
name
seen
that
some
said
earlier
people whom you know
greetings coming
should be
on
here with us
already.
today, but for some reason they are
Yeah.
not. Let me know by how it's indicated.
Okay, good. Hello. Hi, Mary. Hi, Joseph. Hi, Joseph Raja, Joseph Benedict. Hello, so many Joseph. Okay. All right. I also seeing a lot of people giving me a thumbs up, sending waves. Susanna is here tonight. Gideon, nice to see you online. Uh, Mona as well, Agnes. How about saying hello to everybody and tell us where you're from? Joseph, we remember you. Hello, Dylan. Hi, Leonard. All right, tell us where you're from. Lots of hearts, lots of like. Hi, Brian. Hello, Kit. Okay, so let me just begin on tonight. Tonight we because the last topic I touched on the special people, the admired people, the people whom are very special, and if we could learn something from these people. Hence, I mentioned words like, oh wow, coming from New Zealand, from Melbourne now. Okay, good. And then Malaysia, yes, New Zealand, Singapore, Dubai. All right, good. Welcome. Okay, so because last topic I spoke about the special people whom we admired, and what are some things we can learn from them, the special qualities, the something about them that is excellent that we can learn from. And I introduced the term modeling excellence. Now, modeling excellence was originally part of one of the earlier techniques from NLP. NLP, once again, is neuro linguistic programming. Neuro refers to your thinking processes, meaning in NLP, we study what goes on inside your mind that creates states and then manifests behaviors outwards, which then works like a cycle. Hello, Marissa. She's also tuning in. Nice to have you join me all the time. Okay, so linguistics refers to language, whether verbal or non-verbal, that can affect the neurological system and people's thinking, people's feelings, and people's behaviors. And programming refers to the patterns that we run. These thinking patterns, these thought patterns, feeling, and these behavioral patterns that seems to be consistently getting the results that we are consistently getting. Jerome is here. Hi, Jerome. Nice to have you join us as well. Suka, and some names I don't recognize. Do say hello and tell me where you're from. Yeah, how's the two cute pets? Okay, sometimes cute, sometimes not. The small one especially has been it's coming 10 months old now. Yeah, he's been very active and very energetic. So I'm beginning to feel like what many parents has been feeling during this period of staying home, because of the pandemic, where many told me that they are driven crazy by their kids, because they have so much energy and suddenly you have to spend so much time with them and have to cope with the energy. Yeah. Manda, thank you so much. I had no idea. All right, thank you so much for what you do. I met you years ago and like what you were passionate about. Thank you. We gotta talk more later, okay? Because it can help me jog the memory a little where and when we met. Um, I remember Joseph. Joseph attended a corporate training class that I conducted, I think, about 20 years ago or 22 years ago. And then several years ago, he came to join our NLP practitioner and our master practitioner certification class, and then we met again, and he reminded me of back when I was doing a lot of corporate training, and still hoping to do more corporate training. Yeah. Oh, okay. We met at Ted James. Wow. Okay, Ted in 1999. Joseph, thanks for reminding. Okay, so this what NLP is in a nutshell: neuro linguistic programming. Now, NLP is actually a result of modeling excellence. The early founders and the early developers and co-developers, trainers, co-founders of NLP decided and became curious as to how some people are excellent and they're very good in what they do. And from there, they picked up some people who were very outstanding during that time. And what they did was they would go about to study, to watch them, to observe them, and develop patterns, discover their patterns, things that makes them excellent, so that they perform excellently. And from there, we discover the patterns, and then we start breaking down the patterns, and then we test out the patterns and realize that when people perform excellently, when they get tremendous results, they did not come by accident. There's something that they do. There are strategies that they run, both mentally, emotionally, and physically, that got them the result that they got. Yeah. So our quote tonight is: the skill to act begins with the will to get. All right. So building on the last topic we spoke about modeling excellence, tonight I want, because from that day I received a lot of compliments. Many of you like my training, and you like the way I do my training, my speaking engagements, my keynotes, as well as my coaching. And after that, and even after that, I've received several private messages asking me questions about what I do, how I do what I do, because maybe you're exploring to become an aspiring trainer, maybe you are already a trainer and a coach, and that there's something about me that perhaps you like to learn. All right. So tonight the topic is really about that. Okay, it's about modeling excellence and about this concept in NLP called strategy. Okay, run some slides now. So modeling excellence, NLP is the result of modeling excellence strategies of people who are successful at different things. And then from there, NLP becomes a collection of techniques that allow people to be brilliant in the different areas of our life. The other word, strategies. Usually when I mention the word strategies, career professionals are always thinking about the plan, the long-term plan, the action plan, the marketing plan that we need to do in order to go about getting the results and all of that. Well, strategies in NLP is actually the same as the word programming. All right, strategies refers to how we do what we do in our thoughts, in our states, in our behaviors, and the sequence of the representations that goes on inside us that leads to an outcome. All right. So when we do something often enough, it eventually becomes a strategy that we run. It becomes a program that we run. Quite interestingly, just I think it was about half an hour ago, I received a message from one of our practitioner graduate, and she said she remembered that I spoke about patterns of behaviors, something like we always go back to the same kind of guys we like, and get the same kind of results we have, and so the pattern repeats itself. What is that topic under? All right, simply it is us running our programs. All right. NLP also talks about perception is projection. I'll find another occasion and talk more about NLP and its presupposition. But for tonight, it's about modeling excellence. It's about sharing with one another how we go about achieving excellence in communication. All right. So if you're a trainer, then you are communicating to a group. If you're a keynote speaker, you're perhaps communicating with hundreds, or maybe in my case, I run events and give keynotes to thousands of people. And in coaching, maybe it's one, maybe it's a couple, maybe it's a family therapy situation. So tonight is about discovering what strategies we run and what contribute to us being excellent, right? Stop reading the message. Stay with your passion. We are with you. Thank you. All right. So this evening is about these two particular technique. All right. So first off, I want to explain about implicit and explicit modeling. Implicit modeling or implicit is unconscious. That means we are not fully aware that we actually perform an act. We don't know that we did it until we start paying attention, until we go through an experience. So usually it's very general. We know that we've done a great job, or we've achieved great results. Okay, and from experience, our intuition starts to kick in, and we perform some kind of self-learning from the experience that we go through. And then same thing, the cycle, and we start running the strategy, and we start using it ourselves, so that we can consistently get the results that we want. All right, that's implicit, that's unconscious. All right, so one way we can do that is by being more conscious about our experiences, our self-learning, and our self-use. Meaning, how did we do what we do that got us the result that we desire? All right, that's implicit. Implicit. So it's unconscious. We make it conscious so that we can repeat the patterns, or we can refine the patterns, and we can make our results and our outcome even better. All right. The other one is explicit, which is conscious. All right. So it's something that you perform, and you notice that you're doing it, and then you start going deeper within yourself and start paying attention to exactly what you do. So you are aware. All right. You start to get more specific about what goes on in your mind cognitively. You start paying attention to the sequence, to the process, to something that you do, so that you can repeat them, or you can transfer it to someone or teach it to someone else. All right. So these are the two ways that modeling can happen. All right. One is we learning ourselves through our experiences that we go through. The other is noticing in ourselves or in other people and start defining the sequence, the specific things that goes on. All right. For some examples I can think of would be like dancing, would be like baking, for example. Okay. If you don't know how to do it, you can learn how to do it. NLP believes that nothing is impossible. Things are only impossible when we don't know how. All right. So and in using strategies, in defining strategies, so that we can model after the excellence of someone to enjoy the excellent result. We also do a model called T.O.T.E, T-O-T-E in action. So the steps are as follows. First of all, you find a model of excellence, someone who is excellent at something, who a skill and ability, capability of getting results that you also desire to get, and find out, by doing a test, right? By doing a test on the person, find out from the person what kind of goals does he or she have, how does he or she do it, for this person to get a result, it will not happen like by accident. So it's either implicit or explicit, but then something must go on inside that then manifests into behaviors outside that got them the results. All right, so that's the first step. And then O is to operate, and that's when you discover the strategies. All right, some good questions to ask would be, what specific steps and stages do you go through? All right, how did you set that goal? How did you set the outcome in your mind, so that your behaviors and how you utilize your resources, your time and your energy will actually direct you towards your goals. What steps did you take? What stages do you go through? What cognitive states, behaviors, values, and beliefs do I have that allows me to perform excellently? All right. And of course, along the way, in the process, whenever I'm challenged, whenever there are unexpected difficulties or problems, um, then what do I do? How does this person who is excellent overcome these problems? What actions do they take? Okay, so with tests, so you first test out to find out that the goal, the outcome is really something that's also desired by you. All right, find out how this person does it, and then discover the strategies, the steps, the sequence. What goes on inside and that manifests outside that bring them on the direction to achieve their goals. All right, and then you also test again to ensure that the strategies are discovered so that you get the strategies correctly and that the outcome is being achieved. All right, so from there you can actually then form a sequence, a process, and patterns that you can follow that will allow you to model excellence. All right, and strategies. Strategies is something we do all the time, and we have strategies for almost virtually every major behavior. From learning, people who are excellent at learning runs an excellent strategy. They run an excellent pattern in learning that allows them to get the desired outcome in learning. All right. Motivation. Right. We run a strategy that got ourselves motivated, that help us to go get the results that we want to get. Okay. People who are excellent in sales, for example, they run a strategy. All right. So we can test, we can operate, we can test so that we can exceed and on knowing that the outcome is discovered and then replicate it ourselves. Therapists who are great at what they do, coaches who are excellent at getting results with their clients, leaders who are excellent, or perhaps running your business excellently. Right? All of this requires that we must be doing something excellent inside that get us the result that we get. Okay, so find yourself a model. All right, and since from the last topic, hence leading to this today's topic. Last episode, someone complimented me about the way I do what I do, and the way I train and the way I communicated, and then some also messaged me about that, and that's what prompted me to do this evening. All right, to go through and take the opportunity to share some NLP strategies and techniques with you so that you too can model excellence. All right, so now my question is, these are like some of the events that I've done and all. And now I want to make this open as questions. All right. Now, how many of you are very good at presenting, communicating, or speaking to a public? All right. So now I want to hear some and see some responses. How many of you here are really good at it? All right. Give me a heart if you're really, really good at doing all this. Come on, give me a heart. Give me a heart. All right. Give me a heart if you are good at. Okay, how about quite good? As in, you find yourself quite good at giving presentation, communicating with people, speaking to groups of people. Oh, good. I'm seeing some hearts coming along already. All right. And how many wish that you can be excellent? All right, in communicating to a group of people, in influencing people, perhaps in coaching. And for those of you trainers, I know because there's many of you who are actually trained by us to be trainers who are now professional trainers too. Okay, and if you do, then the question is, how did you do that? All right. So one way you can become the conscious about your implicit process and processes, and then you can model after your own excellence. Right. But otherwise, then what questions do you have for me? What would you like to know? What would you like to know? How I do what I do, whether it's one-to-one communication, or it's in coaching, or is in speaking to thousands of people, or running training. All right, so it's question time. So now you ask, all right, to elicit my strategy, if you like, and then TED talk, okay, and then let's discover, because it was implicit for me, right? Although yes, I do pay attention on some things that I do, but there must be things that I perhaps don't know. So it's for you to now ask me, what is it that you like to know? All right. So okay, more hello, and I think there's meeting of old friends here and there. Okay, hi Asna, nice to see you too. Come on, what questions do you have, and what would you like to ask me? What do you need to know? What would you like to know? Waiting for questions. Okay, we normally have a little bit of lag, yeah. All right. How do you? Oh, okay. That's a question from Daniel Fu. How do you prepare for a speech? I'm glad you asked. Like for example, this evening, every session that I do, I make it a point to prepare. Uh, Hi Asna. Every session that I do, I make it a point to prepare. Whether it's a live stream like that, or a meeting. And definitely when it comes to training, when it comes to giving keynote speeches, when it comes to doing coaching or therapy, I always prepare myself. All right. Like for example, this evening, I'm glad you asked. I don't know if you can see this. Come. Let me go back to the full screen. Okay. So what I do is I will use my iPad. Right. Some words you cannot see. Yeah. I will use my iPad to do something like a mind map. It's like a mind map style, except that you notice I use more words, okay? Because I've also picked up along the way that there's another method called mindscaping, which means it's okay to write, okay? So what I do is this is how I will plan it. Yeah, this is how I'll plan. I'll have a central topic. Can you see? I'll have a central topic, right? And then I will then branch out into the topics and the details that I like to discuss. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. Okay, here comes another one. How to overcome nervousness. I get asked this a lot. In fact, I read somewhere that that Fortune 500 CEOs, the really good CEOs and the very successful CEOs, they were being interviewed. They were asked, among the fears that you have, what are the things you are most afraid of, and feel free to write a whole list and all. And surprisingly or unsurprisingly, public speaking is actually the number one fear for most people. Public speaking is the number one fear. In other words, can you imagine? I think if they go to an unfortunate event, if they go to a funeral, they probably prefer to lie dead than to be the one giving a talk, giving a speech, right? So for me, it's about harnessing the nervousness. So think about it, yeah. Nervous means what? It means your heart is beating fast. It means you are excited inside. It means you have butterflies flying inside. Yeah. So instead of thinking of it as nervousness, I think of it as excitement. I think of it as my adrenaline pumping. And that's also one reason, or precisely why I love what I do. Because after 23 years of delivering training in over 50 countries, whenever I start a training, just before I start the training, I always still have the butterflies flying all over the place. All right. So what I do is, of course, then, firstly being prepared. Okay. Because if you invest time to prepare, you don't waste time to repair. So because I'm prepared throughout the whole thing, I would make it a point to pay special attention on the start, the opening that I want to do. All right. And then I'll just take a deep breath to control the heartbeat and the shallow breathing and calm myself down. Because when you're breathing very fast and short, your pitch tend to go very high. All right. And that's usually not a nice voice, a nice tone that people like to hear. So I use breathing to control it. All right. And then I will visualize myself being successful doing it. Okay. And then just get in front of people and then deliver my opening, which I've already prepared for. And I discovered that that usually only happened in the first couple of minutes, because after that, my butterflies start to fly information for me, and then everything will just go smoothly. All right. So in response to Daniel's question, how do you prepare for a speech? I use a variety of techniques, from mind mapping to mindscaping. And of course, if it's a training, a presentation, then I would have written the training manual, the training workbook, as well as the slides. And that itself actually helped me to rehearse how the whole session is going to run. All right. And then I will visualize myself running the session, and I will know specifically what are the first five things I must do, because it's easy to remember just five, right? The first five things I would do, and then I would just get up there and then I would just do it. All right. And the nervousness, up until today, I still feel nervous before I start the session, whenever I start the session. And a lot of people were, oh, come on, cannot be, you've been speaking like, day after day, every other day. I still do. And that's precisely why I like it, because I know most people, or a lot of people, when they go to work, just before they go to work, they're all dragging their feet. All right. But before I start the work, I'm all excited. My adrenaline is all pumping. So I take it positively rather than think of it as being negative. Yeah. Okay, I've got a question here as well. Hi, bro. I think this is my cousin. Okay, how to be a great public speaker in front of a large group of audience. Okay, I don't know what's a large group to you. My largest group is 6,800 people when I spoke in Genting in Malaysia, where they had this place called the Arena of the Stars, and that's where all the celebrities, all the top singers go and perform their concert. That day, the atmosphere was fabulous. It was unforgettable. All right, so I think it all start one step at a time. All right. For me, whether the audience is 5 people or 50 people or 500 or 5,000, I will always be doing the preparation work. I will always be doing uh, my visualization, and then I will always be going up there and just do it to the best of my abilities and let the result speaks for itself. All right. So perhaps we start with 5, and then we go to 50, and then we go to 500. There's a saying that practice makes perfect. uh, I think practice don't make perfect, practice makes permanent. So when you practice what you do, be implicit, be conscious about your implicit processes, all right, so that you learn from your experiences, and then you can repeat your right process, your right strategies. Yeah. Okay, another question: how not to be fear of stage presentation? As I mentioned, fear, nervousness share same physiological symptoms as excitement, motivation, and when adrenaline is pumping. All right, so the difference here lies with, would I prefer to think of it as being fear and nervousness, or do I think of it as excitement and something that's motivating? Someone I remember came to ask me once. It was a speech I did in Malacca for about 400 senior managers from one of major bank in Malaysia. And this gentleman came to me and said, how do you get motivated to motivate hundreds and thousands of people? And I look at him and I say, I think the very first thing is you got to be motivated to be motivating. All right. So the fact that the fear comes naturally, that nervousness comes naturally, that's for us to harness and turn them into positive energy by interpreting it differently. Yeah. Okay. Let me bring up another question from Evelyn. How do you measure the effectiveness or impact of your training besides conducting feedback and surveys? All right. I think with anything that you do, for that matter, whether it's speaking or training or coaching, or doing sales or even dancing and baking, right? Nobody plans to fail. People fail to plan. We need to set the outcome correctly, All right, because outcomes are set consciously, goals are set consciously. I remember in our first episode, and for those who missed that and just joined us, feel free to go to our YouTube channel, Billy Kueek, and start watching from episode 1, because I kind of like build on from each episode. And in time, hoping to be able to share more and more techniques that I can do via a virtual means. Yeah. Okay. So when I set out when I take on any project, I will first of all I will only take on project that I'm confident in doing. I will only take on a training assignment given by my clients. Understanding first of all understanding the objectives that they want, and then really honestly asking myself, am I the best person to do it? All right. If I doubt, if I don't think I'll be good at doing this, I would tell the client that I'm probably not the best trainer for you, and then maybe look into my network of trainers and then make a recommendation. Now I also make it a point that I don't recommend anyone that I don't think is good enough as well. Yeah. So, oh, hi, Kat from Philippines. Nice. We got several countries and so many people coming in. Dr. Wasit, Sawadee Kap, T.O.T.E can use in hypnotherapy. Actually, it's a very good point you asked. Because NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. There's a linguistic component in NLP. And in the linguistics component in NLP, we learn a language pattern called the Milton model. Now, it's called the Milton model because it was modeled after a widely known and acclaimed man, Milton Erickson. Dr. Milton Erickson is known as the father of modern hypnotherapy. In fact, there's a whole branch of hypnotherapy techniques called Ericksonian hypnosis, all right, meaning using Milton Erickson's method. The Milton model of language, of communication in linguistics in NLP was modeled after Dr. Milton Erickson. So what NLP did was they test, all right, by first observing Dr. Erickson's results and talk to him about what is in his mind when he do therapy, and then ask him what steps did he take, and did not just ask him, because if we ask him and he tell us, he can only tell us what he's conscious about, but not what he was unconscious about. So what the founders and the early developers of NLP did was they also go about observing him doing what he do. And then later on, confirm with him that, we also observe this. Is that correct? Are these things that you do as well? All right. And that allowed him to perform excellent result in every therapy and therapeutic situation, which is also the reason why. So NLP, hypnotherapy, quite closely knitted with one another. And that's one reason why when we run our practitioner certifications and the master practitioner certifications, we run NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy together with NLP coaching. Three modalities, three subjects together, because they're closely knitted with one another, and they're supplementary. They're techniques that complement each other. All right, so that's one way to do it. I want to come back to Evelyn's question about measuring the effectiveness. I got distracted there. So what I would do, of course, one way is you get the feedback externally. So with training, there's always a training feedback. Up till today, I still make it a point to run through the training feedback form whenever my client allow me to do so. Because there's some clients who, they just want the feedback and gather the results and all for internal purposes, for evaluation of the external trainer, whether they want to continue to work with this trainer or the speaker or not, by getting feedback from their own valued team members. So that's one way to do it. So I will go through it. And I remember, perhaps this is something good for those who are starting off. I remember that when I used to go through this feedback form, I was very concerned about the criticism. I was very concerned about the negative feedback, I would finish a class with 40 people, for instance. And as I go through it, and I read all the nice feedback, and of course, that made me smile and relief. And then I will see some criticism. And one of the things about me is I take those very personally. I kind of literally almost kick myself for some of the negative feedback, some of the things that I did which I shouldn't. However, NLP also says there is no failure, only feedback. So when I used to be very harsh on myself about some negative feedback, I think I've neglected the majority of the positive feedback. So I think let's take feedback as what it is. It's meant for us to be better the next time at what we do, so that we can continue to do what we do and be excellent and then overtake ourselves, right? Okay.